All right. Morning, folks, or afternoon, depending on where and when you may be tuning into this. If you're catching the recording on the Move Swiftly podcast, it's good that you're back. Let me just give me a second here to check all the platforms. LinkedIn, for those of you who don't know, if it's your first time tuning in, go live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook Monday through Friday. And today, let me just get all the links. I might check one, two, might check LinkedIn. We good. Let me repost everything. And then we'll get it going. We'll get it going. We'll get it going. As we do every single day, we'll get it going. Let me see here. All right, Facebook. Let's do it. All right, let me just check YouTube real quick. All right, YouTube, be good. YouTube, be good. YouTube, like check one, check. All right, we're good. All right, here we go. Let's get it right into it. You see what we're talking about today. We're putting, well, actually, first and foremost, let me introduce myself to anybody that may be new around here. My name, Aswan Crookshank. I am your one and only Move Swiftly speaker, former Division I college football player, and current 5-time, soon-to-be 6-time published author and educator. What I do, what the whole Move Swiftly brand is all about. What we do around here is we take the lessons, the innovative teamwork lessons that we learn on the football field, and we align them with businesses and business owners so they have a staff, a group of employees that moves as efficiently and as cohesively and has that strength, that same passion as a championship high school or youth football team. And I'm telling you, could not pick a better topic in terms of the examples that I'm going to share, the things I'm going to shelf out today, because we're putting it all together. All right. So Monday, the Make and Move Monday kickoff question was all about what system aligns with your business the best. Tuesday, it was top 5 ways to systematize your business. Yesterday, Wintrepreneur Wednesday, we're talking about the Under Armour system and what it's all about. And today, we are going to talk in depth, in detail about how to put the system to work. If you can recall, Tuesday, on Top 5 Tuesday, the final thing to do, the final thing that I expressed to you was making sure that you are putting your system to work and letting go. Let it go. This is not one of the most challenging part about developing a solid system, especially when you're the creator of it, especially when you're the founder of it, especially when you're the one that built it. It's figuring out, how am I going to let it go? Give up my baby, let go of my baby, let go of the baby that you built and you raised and you tried and you went out and pitched and called and did all sorts of things to build this magnificent organization. How do you let it go and let it take care of itself? Let the system take care of itself. So we're going to discuss that today. We're going to get into some questions. In fact, I'm going to be doing something newer that I literally just decided I'm going to do on Thursdays. Is I basically put all of the articles and all the material that I've come up with throughout the week. I put it in ChatGPT and just had to generate a few questions. So I'm going to start answering those questions towards the end. But we're going to get first and foremost, let me just get through a couple announcements here, and then we will get things going. First and foremost, let me just do that before I get into the actual topic, because that does tend to happen. And by the way, also make sure you comment, subscribe, and do something. Just tell me, repost, I'll send it to somebody, share. Because it helps the algorithm. It helps people continue to follow the show. Helps build things out, and again, continue to develop that system. So first and foremost, West Palm Beach. If you are interested in free boxing lessons, be sure to hit that QR code that you see right there on the screen. Or if you're listening to this on the Move Swiftly podcast, simply go to freeboxing.makeyourmove.com. That's freeboxing.makeyourmove.com, and all the information that you would need will be right there. Business owners, as I tell you every single day, every single day, every single day, every single day. I do the work to help you. The work I do is for you to take advantage of. All right. Every single morning I'm thinking of ways in which I can help my ideal client. My ideal client is those business owners who are really, really tired of dealing with turnover. They want to reduce the amount of turnover, significantly reduce the amount of turnover, and they want a business they want a group of employees that are staying around and staying in place. If you would like that, if that sounds like you, freeguide.makeyourmove.com. That's freeguide.makeyourmove.com. There's a 10-step process, 10-step system there in place for you to be utilizing right now. That's going to make it so you do not have that problem anymore. You don't want that problem. It's a bad problem to have. Okay, it's a really bad problem to have. All right, hold on, let me make sure this stuff is set up. All right. And final two things I should say. Make sure you tap into the Patreon. Make sure you tap into the Patreon link. It's patreon.com/Aswan44. Patreon.com/Aswan44. And all of this is available on makeyourmove.com. That's MakeYamove.com. It's a one-stop shop for all your teamwork, your self-development needs. You could shop. Join the Patreon. You could book me to speak. You can learn more about Aswan, or you could just listen to one of those fantastic Move Swiftly podcast episodes, the #1 podcast on innovative teamwork. All right, let's get right into what I was beginning to discuss. And when it comes to putting your system to work. Now, there's a couple things that I want to make sure I'm on the record stating going into today's episode and going into today's discussion is, first of all, it's not an easy thing to do. All right. I can resonate a lot with folks who have built businesses or have tried this and created this opportunity and had such a grand vision for what it is they want to do, and then had to figure out ways to let it go and let the system, the best system, be the thing that puts it together. And, you have to kind of step away from the business. However, you got to understand, at the same time, you got to understand that's what's best for the future. There's no one individual. If there's any takeaway from everything that has been discussed throughout the entire week, is there's no one person that's building anything significant. We all need somebody. We all have gone through whatever it is we've gone through, difficult times, challenging times, and we all need to depend on somebody. We all need to figure out how to work with other people, all that kind of stuff. So, as I was thinking about the best ways to describe this, the reason I chose this as a thumbnail is because when you look at how I grew up and the things that I witnessed growing up and what it was like for me growing up, you can obviously see, if you're watching this visually, you see why I'm such a psychotic Michigan Wolverines football fan. You see it. I mean, you see, this was me as a kid wearing that number 51. That was the year my coach passed away. And then, that's how with the name like Aswan Crookshank, never really got accepted in school. So this right here is where I got my acceptance. And then when it became something when football became something that I was no longer able to be a part of as a player, being a coach, being a part of that program, being a part of something that was bigger than me is something I was attracted to. And I thought about, how I was going to describe it. And then, as I've been, getting ready, this is, by the way, this is a kind of I wouldn't say it's a depressing time for me, but it's one of those times where, you're missing the game of college football of all things. So one of the things that was like major news, actually, what in regards to us as Michigan fans, is getting this kid named Bryce Underwood. All right, getting this kid named Bryce Underwood was a big deal because he was the #1 recruit. He was the #1 recruit in the entire country a year ago. And he had initially committed to LSU. And then what made our season was the fact that he decommitted from LSU and decided he was going to go to Michigan because he's from Michigan and all that. And as he's been doing interviews, and I'm not the type of guy that gets excited about all of the hype and the things that come out of spring or gets too excited about a freshman, but because, this was such a big deal, I've had the opportunity to listen to him on several interviews and talk about what really made him switch and what really made him decide he was going to, flip on LSU and come to Michigan, was the fact that he played his youth football for a team named the Motor City Wolverines. And as you can see, they had the wing helmets. They had the same colors. It was literally the same reason. Again, the same reason I became a Michigan fan. The same reason that they were able to, he was able to, or Michigan, or he was attracted to Michigan. Obviously, being in the Motor City and being from there, that was a big deal. I'm saying all that. I'm explaining all that to you because that's the importance and that's how vital it is to develop a system that's touching a lot of people. All right. I'm using that example, Michigan football, that brand, that block M, those wing helmets, that whole thing just sets off a ripple effect to where if you let the system go, and you allow it to touch people, then you can attract a whole lot more people in your world, and you can just simply stay in your lane and do what it is you need to do, which again, for you business owners who regularly tune into my work, that your role needs to be making sure the money comes in. Your role needs to be making sure that the profits are that you're focusing on making sure profits are at its highest point, and you're constantly making it so your employees are benefiting because they're profit, because of the work you're putting in, and you're making sure the money comes in. All right. So let's get into I'm going to break this down into 3 parts. All right. I'm going to break it down into 3 parts because the 3 parts that need to be understood. In fact, let me get them on the screen real quick so you guys can see them. Here. All right. Part number one, we're discussing the best ways or the ways to put your system to work. Part number 1, here's what you're going to need. You're going to need right there, discipline. All right. If you want your system to work, there needs to be a level of discipline among your mindset and what it is you want to build, whatever it is your vision is. Now, it's easier said than done. I'm actually dealing with a situation right now in my personal life in which there's something I want to do. I clearly something I want to do, but the discipline and the idea and the understanding that I have a bigger plan, a bigger goal, a bigger focus in the future, the discipline of not going out and doing the thing is making it so that the possibilities are still around, if that makes sense. All right. And I'll even break it down when it comes to, fitness and running. Why I run so much every single morning. It's the goal of, running a marathon. My personal goal is to actually run a marathon. And obviously it doesn't happen overnight. I attempted one about 1.5 years ago, but the discipline to do it every single morning, that is an absolute must, because when you have the discipline to do it every single morning, you simply just go out and you take those small victories. You take those small wins. You figure out ways in which you can enjoy the process and enjoy the moment. So that's number 1, is making sure you have the discipline in your own way. And here's another thing. Here's another thing when it comes to discipline. As a leader, as the business owner, as the person, the people that I primarily attract into my work, it's when you are disciplined in your work, when you are absolutely, when I say discipline, I mean, laser-like focus every single day, you're consistent, you're doing what you have to do. The people are going to follow you. They're going to take your model. Being that exemplary role model, being exemplary is absolutely important. I'll give you another example, actually. And again, you guys know me, regular consumers, you guys know I break everything down into the football world and give you examples from what I lived through as a player. All right. So in high school, I played for high school named Good Counsel High School. And I had the fortunate opportunity to play for a coach. His name is Bob Malloy. In fact, let me just look him up real quick so you guys have a visual here. I wonder what he's up to these days. So just retired. All right. All right, there's Bob Malloy. All right, he retired with the most wins of any high school football coach in Maryland. I mean, again, a blessing, an absolute blessing that I had the opportunity to learn from him and, be a captain on his team my senior year, be a captain on one of his teams my senior year, right? So the reason he can, again, a lot of the stuff I do here is not particularly planned. There's situations, there's words that come up that's going to make me think of a certain individual when it comes to displaying this and displaying that, right? So when you talk about discipline, his name came to mind because the model that he was able to create. All right. So here's what I mean when I say discipline. And discipline, there's not a lot of words, it's not a lot of talking. It's all action based. It's all based on your action and how you show up every single day, right? So this was back in those days where Good Counsel used to be located in Wheaton, Maryland. All right. And the campus was not big enough for us to be practicing there every after school every single day. There were just too many teams using the field and practicing here, this, that, and the third. So we as the varsity team, we would go to a local park that was maybe a half a mile, if so long, away from the school, and we'd have our practices, right? So most of the time, I mean, trust me when I tell you, not most of the time, if you were smart as a player, you would be there waiting for Coach Malloy to start the whistle. Because if you were late to one of his practices, let me just tell you, you would not like the city if you were late. Anybody that's played for Coach Bob Malloy will tell you, or any coach that's really a stickler for time. Look, if you were late for one of those practices, it would be a bad day, a bad situation. So most of the time, we would get there as early as we can get as players. And then Coach Malloy would arrive literally, I mean, to the minute, the exact same time every single day. Simply, this is what I mean when I say putting the system to work. All right. He required amongst us to be very much about time and being on time for practice and being where we needed to be when we needed to be. All right. He can't say that. He can't be like that. He can't be as diligent and as solid about that if he's not willing to do it himself. Right. So he would show up at the name of the park. It's escaping me. I can't even remember the name of the park. It's in Glenmont. I forgot the name of the park. But he would show up every day. He'd walk by us as players and he'd sit down on the bench and he'd just look at the field. And then when the time started, every single day, boom, all right, let's go, boom, every single day. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. The discipline on this guy, is the main thing that I actually carried over because of that really, to my in my opinion, has been his best attribute. I obviously wasn't the greatest play caller. He won games. I mean, as someone that's coached as long as he's coached, there's certain things that come with the game and nuances and athlete strengths, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I get it. I'm not going to sit here and tell you he was the best play caller, but I will tell you that the fact that the reason that he was able to win so many games was because of the discipline that he required amongst himself first, and the way that translated into what we were all about as players. All right. That's important. As owners, you want to let your system go. You want to put your system to work. You got to have the discipline to show up and do the things that are going to be exemplary for the people that are looking up to you. In this case, it was the players, whether it's the staff, whether it's the employees, whatever it is. You got to make sure you're disciplined enough to do the work and be willing to be looked at, understand that you will be looked at and folks are going to be modeling the behavior that you have. All right. Next thing that you have to have. And again, we're discussing putting your system to work here, putting it right here in the screen. So you guys hear it. Faith. I heard it. It's so crazy because so a lot of people hear the acronym of faith. Whenever the word faith comes up in some instances, you hear the faith over fear. And Les Brown, absolutely legendary motivational speaker. I remember him breaking down the acronym false evidence appearing real. And then he broke down the acronym FAIR, finding answers in the hog. And that was because normally, especially me being in the football world, I would hear FAIR and I would hear that acronym, false evidence appearing real, but then it's like faith, finding answers in the hog. All right. We're discussing again. Don't forget, hit a like, share this out, comment on this video, do whatever you have to do. Just, keep it rolling. Faith. We're discussing putting our systems to work. You got to have faith. You gotta have faith, man. You gotta have faith. There's no such thing as a sure thing. There's no guarantee. There's absolutely nothing in life that you can just predict is gonna happen. The faith in the system is something that's absolutely a must. You've got to have a faith in that system. And that faith in that system is something that's not going to happen naturally. It isn't. This is why I'm such an advocate for sports. This is why I'm such an advocate for young people being involved with sports and getting themselves, going out and losing, making mistakes, getting yelled at, getting cursed out, doing whatever. You got to have faith in something other than yourself. Please believe me. All right. Putting your system to work. Let me see if I can understand a lot. Well, actually, you know what? We'll keep it right there. I'll keep it right there. I, again, didn't plan on doing this, but I'll keep it right there in the football world and my high school football experience when we're talking about faith. All right. So we talked about discipline. Next thing is faith. Now we were in a situation. In fact, I think I still have it. I think I still have the thumbnail. I do not. But if you go just look up my name or look up if you're looking at this on YouTube, look up the live stream I did where it's titled matter of fact, you know what? That's something I can do right now with you. That's something I can do. I learned how to do that. I learned how to do that. I learned how to do that. Yes. There we go. There we go, baby. Yes. All right. So if you look up right here, the best HSFB. This is it. Yep, right here. If you go look up, this is what I did. So if you're listening to this on the Move Swiftly podcast, I went to my YouTube channel, which is Aswan C44, and I just hit the search button. And if you can see, 4 months ago, I did a live stream titled "How This Became the Best Rivalry in High School Football." And it's basically, again, talking about my high school football experience. There was a team by the name of the Mathis Stags that a lot of you, if you're a football aficionado, if you're listening to this from that world, you know exactly the team I'm talking about. But we were in a dogfight with them. We had to deal with them. We lost to them 4 years in a row in the championship game. And, so here's what happened. And I'll give you my experience with it, because this is actually very, very important for you to understand when your systems aren't together and you're putting your teams in the right situation and you're doing what you have to do, how much that faith component actually matters, right? So once I graduated in 07, and then 08, again, we lost. Good Counsel loses to the Matha 09, which was the heartbreaking loss, because this was the year that we first got on ESPN, and we played them and we beat their ass on ESPN, and we were the favorites to win that year of 09. Jelani Jenkins, Caleb Porza. We had a team that was the favorite to win, and they got blown out. Not only did they lose, but they got blown out being the favorites, right? And this was a tough one to watch, because I remember actually watching this on a local channel, and it hurt. It absolutely morning. It absolutely crushed me, even though I wasn't even in the game, but it crushed me, right? So anyway, What happened after that year, Good Counsel won like 4 years in a row. I mean, we just absolutely dominated and crushed it. Like we were running the WCAC for a couple years after that. And I remember I had graduated from college. I graduated from Stony Brook. Yeah, I just finished up and I was working as a college scout. And I remember going back to Good Counsel and having a conversation with Coach Malloy about, what's going on. We're winning championships now. We ran off a couple of years in a row as CAC champions and ran off a couple of years in a row as winners of the game and all that kind of stuff. He goes, what's going on? And I remember asking him specifically, I said, is it that the math is playing worse or is it that we're getting better? What's up? Talk to me. What's up? Right. And he goes, you know better than anyone that there was a couple times down there that we lost that we should have won those games. All right. And I bring that up because when it comes to the system in place and putting your system to work, there's so much to be learned from what he said. All right. There was a couple times now where you had a system, you did the things the right way, and you didn't get the result you wanted. But that does not mean you just get to deviate from the entire system. That doesn't mean you just, throw around. And this is actually was what I was talking about today in today's Move Swiftly Thought, because I was reacting to the fact that Mike Malone from the Denver Nuggets, again, a coach that just won a championship. He just literally won. It was Celtics last year, and the year right before that, it was the Denver Nuggets and Mike Malone winning a championship. And actually, let me pull that up while I am talking real quick. I'm gonna pull it up while I'm talking. Yes, right here. If you're watching this on video, you see it right here. They just won a championship, and then they let their coach go for whatever the reason may be. They let him go. I, spoke about, and you can go look at it on your own. I spoke about how that actually is why the NBA is losing its viewership. It's losing loyal viewership because you're not showing faith in the leaders that are obviously the ones that are having success in the league that you built. So, you can't expect people to necessarily be a loyal or to really be loyal followers and loyal fans when you clearly don't trust the leadership. You clearly don't trust the people that have had success in your league. All right. So there's something wrong there. So as business owners and as the people that I like I said, like I explained to you at the beginning, I strive to serve, I work, I build, systems around in which I'm constantly looking to work with these business owners that have this difficult time dealing with turnover. I am here to tell you this faith thing is a huge component towards letting the system work. All right. So if you're disciplined enough to do what you have to do, having the faith in the system, that is going to be like, it's going to be a cause and effect. It's going to be like a ripple effect of it. So it's going to start with you being disciplined enough to do the work and make sure you're doing what you have to do to build your business. But then the faith that you're going to run into the right people, and even me included. Again, I've been doing these live streams for months now. I've been doing, tons of work. There's tons of things about me that you may seem like, or may feel like, oh, that's a waste of time because it's not getting a lot of views. It's not getting a lot of likes. It's not getting a lot of engagement. That does not mean that I get to stop, because if you go back and you listen to the first video I've ever done years ago, and then you listen to me now, you start to see where the progress has continued to grow, where my ability to communicate, my ability to constantly engage in people and have dialogue with folks and work with folks and really get clearer and clearer on who it is I'm serving. All of this has been tracked and can be looked up by anybody, anytime, anywhere, and it's all publicly available. That's what having faith does, and it gets you clearer and clearer to your goal. All right, so we got discipline, we got faith. Like I said, breaking this down into 3 parts. Now, here's the big one, because faith, like I said, faith, discipline, you've heard that before. You've heard that from it. It can be kind of generic. I'm going to write this out, and I'm going to write it out as I write it out. I will be saying it as well. So podcast listeners, just tune in. All right. So what I have on the screen, what is popping up on the screen. If you're watching this on YouTube, you're seeing it. But if you're looking at it, if you're listening to this on the Move Swiftly podcast, I'm gonna read it out. Measurable day-to-day results. Let it sink for a little bit. Measurable day-to-day results. This right here is big. A lot of folks, when the money start coming in, they lose track of this. The measurable day-to-day results. Be clear. Hear me closely. All right. Again, as I break this down in the sports world, in the football world, you don't start practice, you don't start camp unless you're able to hit a certain milestone, unless you're able to pass a certain conditioning test. All right. You're not going to get if there's a new installation where there's a play in which the coach wants to implement it, whether it's a screen pass to this or a little wrinkle, a little reverse, a little draw, or a new blitz, whatever it is. They will put it in practice. They will install the play in practice. And if they don't like the way you were able to execute this play in practice, it will not get put in the game plan. You will not be the person running this play when an actual live game is happening. Measurable day-to-day results. Same thing in basketball. If you're not hitting a certain amount of shots, if you're not, coming off the screen the right way, you're not getting that opportunity in the game. This right here, if you want to put your system to work, you have got to create part of your discipline, part of your structure, part of your faith, part of everything you do has got to involve every single person having a day-to-day result. What is the thing that you want to accomplish today? Did it get done or did it not get done? Measurable day-to-day results. This is why LA Fitness has been, and I spoke about it. I believe I spoke about LA Fitness on Tuesday when I was talking about the seller's mindset and how being a seller, they're developing a understanding of the importance of sales. Why that's so important is the fact that there were situations in which they have a system that's in place that shows how many appointments a person makes for the next day, how many calls they make, did they log their calls, what's their percentage ratio, all that. So when you're having a conversation with an individual about your sales, they're looking at the numbers, they're looking at the percentages. They're not just going off, I'm gonna call this one and I tried this one wasn't interested, so I just brushed it off, or this one. No, that's not the conversation they're having. The reason LA Fitness is LA Fitness, and the reason this is something that you need to be taken away, is the fact that they have implemented systems, a CRM system that's constantly updating you and constantly saying to you, okay, this person's doing this person's doing that. In fact, I remember Dupree, who was my hiring manager at LA Fitness, he went over, again, if we're talking about discipline, faith, and structure, every single morning he would get in, he would print out the sales report sheet. You see him walk over to the printer, and every day he'd just go over it, see who's doing this, see what numbers are being hit. And then when he would have conversations with us, his sales associates, he would say, this is the percentage, this is that. And he would talk to us in numbers, in specific numbers. You've got to make sure that there's a measurable day-to-day result that you can track. You have got to do that, because if you don't do it, you're just pretty much paying people to shoot the shit. Dead eyes. All right. You're paying people to shoot the shit. You're paying people to just sit around and talk, gossip, develop their own clicks, develop their own, what it is they want to do with the money. And then you're not helping anyone, because when they get that money, they go and they blow it on some bullshit that doesn't actually get them any results. All right. And it starts to separate them from your company. So separate them from the business that you're trying to create. And that's the last thing you want to have happen. The last thing you want to have happen is to have people in your company or in your business working for you, working in your structure, and not figuring out how they can utilize the opportunity to create something for themselves because of the measurable results that they're getting. That is the issue. That is when you start seeing companies go to shit. It really doesn't matter the industry. It's because the individuals didn't have a measurable day-to-day result that they needed to hit every day, and they got in the habit of just showing up and getting paid, showing up, getting paid, showing up, getting paid, showing up, getting paid. And there is no tangible thing that's going to actually keep them employed and keep them engaged, even when they're not in the business. You got to develop that. All right. Putting your system to work. This right here, in my opinion, is the most important thing and the main thing, the main message that you have to get from today. All right. So all that being said, let me wrap this up. I'm going to wrap this up with a few. So what I did is I decided to try something new, because Thursdays are usually recap days from Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So what I decided to do is I decided to put in ChatGPT all the material that I came up with from Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and say come up with a few questions that may be asked, what's happening. So let me read through a couple of these, and then I will officially close you out. So it says from what systems. All right. So Mondays. All right. So this is what happened. Monday's article was titled, "What systems does your business connect with?" And ChatGPT came up with 3 different questions. First one, let me read it out loud. Why is it important for entrepreneurs to evaluate the systems they are currently using, and how can they tell if it's time for change? All right. So we've already discussed why it's important for them to evaluate the systems and how they can tell if it's time for a change. Plain and simple. This is a very, very easy one. It's not bringing in any revenue. It's not bringing in any revenue. The system is not bringing in any revenue. Okay. If all Under Armour did was sell tight, stretchy t-shirts, Nike says, okay, I could do that. Boom. We're going to do it. And people just buy the tight, stretchy t-shirts from Nike. No, what they did was they decided they're going to get into shoes and visors and wristbands and gloves and all the things that outfit a football player. So it's time for a change when it's not going to be the main revenue driver. It may be the main thing that people know you for, but it's not going to be the main revenue driver. All right. So, or the only revenue driver. You need something more. How do successful brands like Under Armour use systems to scale without losing authenticity? We already answered that. What does it mean to connect with a system in the business world? And how does this differ from simply adopting the best practices? Right here, what you see on the screen. Instead of, does it mean to connect with a system in the business world? How does this differ from simply adopting the best practice? Connecting with a system allows for these measurable day-to-day to be created. These measurable day-to-day results, it allows it to be created when you connect with a system. All right. And since we're talking about Under Armour, there was a clip I saw of Kevin Plank, who was sampling out free t-shirts, and he would do this all the time in Maryland. All right. And he would sample out free t-shirts to several of his former teammates, and obviously they became friends, but teammates that played, and he would give it to them, and then they would bring it back and he'd like it, but then he would also say, hey, go give it to your equipment manager and see what they'd be willing to pay for. See if they'd be willing to pay for some more. Right? Did they like the concept? Did they like this? Did it help? This, that, and they're just constantly getting feedback. So that would be the way, instead of to connect with the system. And how does it defer simply adopting the best practices? That's just simply the best would be relative. That the best is not necessarily, it's going to be based on opinion. It's going to be based on whatever the company structure is, the best, right? And that's going to be opinionated. But a system is actually you making sure you're doing this and you're getting that result that's leading to actual dollars and cents. All right. So those were the 3 from Monday. All right. So had a couple from Tuesday. It says, which of the 5 systemization tips could have been the biggest impact on a solo entrepreneur, and why? Which of the 5 systemization tips could have the biggest impact on a solo entrepreneur, and why? Easy, the sales. Make sure you're developing in sales. It's going to be a force multiplier. It's going to be something you're going to be utilizing every single day of your life. The sales, the sales, the sales, the sales, the sales, the sales. All right. How can business owners stay committed to building systems when they are overwhelmed or in survival mode? Again, same answer. I would give the same answer. The day-to-day results. You got to measure the day-to-day results. Period. Point blank. The day-to-day results have got to be something that's absolutely emphasized. And if people aren't hitting their results day to day, it's time to move on. Day-to-day results. What is the day-to-day results? If you have to pick a result, what's going to happen today? What is the day-to-day results? That's how you stay out of survival mode, by continuing to really harp on those day-to-day results. How does customer feedback help in shaping the effect of it? It's everything. It's everything. All right. I believe it was the great Tyler Perry, who once said, the audience always decides. All right. It's not about what you want to give them. It's about what the audience is going to be attracted to, and utilize your next step based on what the audience is doing, based on what the audience is saying. In this case, they're talking about customers. Customers and audience kind of go hand in hand. What are some signs that a business is relying too heavily on hustle rather than system? Oh man, the signs would be a standstill, right? A really stagnant standstill where things are getting too predictable. And I'll give you an example. This is an example of a business that went, company I was previously employed by, that went out of business. The name of the company is 9 Round Kickboxing and Fitness. It was in Plantation, and I could have saw the writing on the wall. This was like before COVID happened, and there was a period there where we were stuck at maybe, I believe, like 90 members, and I knew every single member that came, because I was basically the lead trainer there. And there was a period there where you can predict from about maybe 9 to maybe 10:30 where the same group of people were going to come into the gym every single day, which was a bad situation, considering 9 Round prides itself on not having class times. 9 Round prides itself on being able to just walk in and do the workout whenever. The fact that there was a structure in place, or already kind of being predictable who was going to show up and who they were going to show up with, that is when you starting to see you're relying too heavy on hustle, because that group of people is not that group of people may get some referrals, but the system's not going to be, the system is going to be off track, because your system should be about getting new people in every day, not the same people in that industry. And that can happen in that is something that a lot of people become a victim of as well. How do systems help shift a business from being reactive to proactive? This goes back to discipline. This goes back to Coach Valor every single day, regardless, showing up and being in practice by that time, and then knowing that the people that are behind him are watching him, and they're going to take that same proactive approach. All right. Final one, Wintrepreneur Wednesday, featuring Kevin Plank. Here's the questions I got from this article. What mindset shifts are necessary to transition from hustle entrepreneur to a wintrepreneur? We have it right there sitting on the screen. We talked about that. Measure the day-to-day. This Kevin Plank story illustrates the importance of staying connected with your why as a business leader. So if you go back and listen to the episode yesterday, I talked about how Kevin Plank once pitched the idea of tight stretchy t-shirts to Nike. He got told no, he got told it would never work, and now look at him. So the answer to that question is, you just got to believe in the actual why and what you're putting out there. What lessons can entrepreneurs learn about resilience and adaptability under? Same thing. How can working a 9 contribute to working a 9-to-5 can be very, very beneficial, because you see the structure. One of the things I see every day is where the problems or where the holes in a lot of businesses actually occur. So when you see that hustle, when you're seeing it and you're part of it, you're able to do things in your own head and create material and create opportunities, create, live streams, articles, whatever it is you need to create to really address the issues that you see every day. That's all I do. That's all that happens. The only reason I'm able to put up so much content every single day is because what I see every day is just simply solving a problem that I currently live through, whether it's me in education, fitness, or athletics. All right. So that was fun. That was my first time doing that. I think I'm gonna start implementing that a little more. And again, this goes back to number 4 from top 5 Tuesday, where it's testing the system. And this was actually really fun. It's going over. It keeps me on point instead of going on a bunch of tangents. So it keeps me on point in terms of answering questions and making sure I'm doing what I have to do to make sure my system is being put to work. So all that being said, again, do not forget, hit a like for the algorithm, share, comment, do what you got to do. Just make sure this gets out to anybody, especially if you're a business owner, and especially if you're someone that is just tired of losing people and having these high, just ridiculously high turnover rates. Main website to check out to dive deeper into everything I'm all about. It's makeyourmove.com. That's MakeYaMove.com. One-stop shop for all your teamwork and your self-development needs. As one, Crookshank, your one and only Move Swiftly speaker, checking out. You guys continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon.